Please, I need this covered. We have the card. This insurance? It's a joke. You're not covered.
A teenage girl stood at the hospital billing desk, hands shaking as she held a folder of medical documents. The administrator looked her up and down slowly before laughing loud enough for the entire waiting room to hear. 17-year-old Maya Chen wore her older brother's oversized jacket because it was the only warm thing she owned anymore, and the January cold in Boston cut through everything else. The jacket's sleeves covered her hands completely, and she had to push them back every few seconds just to hold the folder her aunt had given her that morning. The folder contained insurance papers, medical records, and a payment card her aunt said would cover everything. Just show them this, her aunt had told her. Everything is already arranged. The hospital administrator, a woman named Patricia Russo who had worked in medical billing for 12 years, looked at Maya's second-hand sneakers first. The left sole was separating from the canvas, held together with duct tape that Maya had tried to color black with a marker so it would be less obvious. Patricia's eyes moved up to the oversized jacket, then to Maya's face, and something in her expression hardened immediately. Maya approached the desk and tried to keep her voice steady even though her heart was beating so hard it hurt. I need to schedule my brother's surgery. My aunt said everything was pre-approved through our insurance. Patricia leaned back in her ergonomic chair and crossed her arms over her designer cardigan. She was smiling, but it was the kind of smile that made Maya's stomach feel hollow and wrong. Your insurance. The way she said it made the words sound like a joke. And which insurance would that be, exactly? Maya opened the folder with trembling fingers and pulled out the insurance card. Platinum Health coverage through Titan Medical Group. The card was heavy, metallic, the kind that felt expensive just to hold. She placed it on the counter between them. Patricia picked up the card with 2 fingers like she was handling something contaminated. She held it up to the light, turned it over, examined it with exaggerated suspicion. Then she set it down and laughed again, louder this time. Several people in the waiting room turned to look. A mother with 2 small children, an elderly man with a cane, a nurse passing through with a clipboard, all of them watching. Platinum coverage. Patricia shook her head slowly, making sure her voice carried across the room. Do you have any idea how many people try to scam hospitals every single day? How many fake insurance cards we see? She tapped the card with one perfectly manicured nail. This doesn't belong to you. No way a kid dressed like that has Titan medical coverage. Maya felt her face getting hot. That belonged to her aunt. My aunt pays for it. She sent me here to arrange the surgery for my brother. Everything is legitimate. Patricia turned to her coworker, a younger woman named Rachel who was processing forms at the next desk. Rachel, come look at this. A teenager in duct-taped shoes trying to use Platinum Titan coverage. Rachel glanced over and smirked. Seriously, she returned to her work without another word, but the damage was done. The judgment had been rendered. Where did you really get this card? Patricia's voice had gone cold now, stripped of the false amusement. Did you steal it? Find it somewhere. Because I can call security right now and we can sort this out the hard way, or you can tell me the truth and leave quietly. Maya's hands were shaking so badly the folder almost slipped from her grip. I didn't steal anything. This is my family's insurance. My brother needs surgery for his heart condition, and my aunt arranged everything. She said I just needed to come here and confirm the appointment date. Patricia stood up from her chair. She was tall, imposing, wearing heels that made her even taller. She leaned over the counter so she was looking down at Maya from above. Listen to me very carefully. I have been working in medical administration for 12 years. I know exactly what Titan Platinum coverage costs. It is $48,000 per year. 48,000. She let the number hang in the air. You expect me to believe your family can afford that? Maya wanted to explain that her aunt had been a surgeon before she retired, that she had spent 30 years building her career and her savings, that the insurance was her gift to the family after Maya's parents died. But the words stuck in her throat because Patricia's face made it clear that no explanation would matter. Security, Patricia's voice was sharp, commanding. A security guard who had been standing near the entrance started walking over. His name tag said Marcus Webb. He was a black man in his 50s, and when he saw Maya standing at the desk with her folder clutched against her chest, something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or sympathy, but he kept walking. This girl is attempting insurance fraud. Patricia pointed at Maya like she was evidence in a trial. She showed up with a Platinum Titan card that clearly does not belong to her and is refusing to leave. I need you to escort her out of the building immediately. Marcus stopped a few feet away. He looked at Maya, then at Patricia, then back at Maya. The moment stretched out, painful and uncertain. Maya could see something working behind his eyes, some internal debate, but when he finally spoke, his voice was neutral and professional. "Miss, I am going to need you to come with me." Maya felt something break inside her chest. Not her heart exactly, but something close to it. The place where hope lived. She looked around the waiting room at all the people watching. None of them were moving to help. None of them were saying anything. They were just staring, some with pity, some with suspicion, some with nothing at all. She followed Marcus toward the exit, her footsteps echoing against the polished hospital floors. The folder felt impossibly heavy in her hands. Behind her, she could hear Patricia already helping the next person in line, her voice bright and cheerful now that the problem had been removed. Marcus walked her all the way to the automatic doors. When they slid open, January air rushed in, freezing and brutal. He stopped just before the threshold. His hand was on his radio, ready to call for backup if she tried to come back inside. But he was looking at her face now, really looking, and Maya saw that flicker again. The thing he was trying to suppress. "I have to do my job," he said quietly. The words sounded like an apology, but they were not an apology. They were an excuse. Maya nodded because she did not trust herself to speak without crying. She stepped through the doors and they closed behind her with a soft pneumatic hiss. The sound of being locked out. The sound of doors closing on people who do not matter. She sat on a concrete bench near the parking lot entrance and pulled out her phone. Her aunt, Dr. Sarah Chen, was in a hospital board meeting across town, probably discussing budgets or staffing or some other critical issue that could not be interrupted. Maya had promised she could handle this simple task. Just confirm the surgery date. Just show them the insurance. Just be responsible for once. She had failed at the easiest possible thing. The folder sat next to her on the bench. Inside was the insurance card, the medical records for her brother David, who was 14 and whose heart had a defect that would kill him without surgery, and a letter from her aunt explaining that all costs were pre-covered and the hospital just needed to schedule the procedure. Maya had not opened the letter. She assumed it was just formalities. She opened it now. Her aunt's handwriting was precise, medical, the handwriting of someone who had spent decades writing prescriptions and surgical notes. But the content was different, personal. "Maya," the letter began, "you are stronger than you know. You have survived things that would destroy most people. The loss of your parents, the responsibility of caring for David, the judgment of people who look at your circumstances and make assumptions. But you are not your circumstances. You are brilliant and capable and worthy of every good thing this world has to offer. Do not let anyone make you feel small. Not today, not ever. If anyone questions you or makes you feel unwelcome, call me immediately. I do not care what meeting I am in. You matter more." Maya read the letter 3 times. Each time the words hit harder. She thought about calling her aunt right now, explaining what happened, asking for help. But shame held her back. Shame and the fear that maybe Patricia was right. Maybe a girl like her did not belong in places like this. Maybe the insurance card was a mistake, a clerical error, something that would be revoked the moment anyone looked closely. Her phone buzzed. A text from David. "How did it go? Did you get the date?" Maya stared at the message. Her thumbs hovered over the keyboard. She could lie, say everything went fine, buy herself time to figure out what to do next. But lying to David felt wrong in a way that lying to anyone else would not. He trusted her. He was the only person left in the world who trusted her completely. She typed back slowly. There was a problem. They did not believe the insurance was real. I am working on it. 3 dots appeared immediately. David was typing. Then they disappeared, then they appeared again. Finally, a message came through. Call Aunt Sarah, she will fix it. Maya knew he was right, but knowing it and doing it were different things. She sat on the bench for another 10 minutes, watching people go in and out of the hospital. Patients in wheelchairs, families carrying flowers, doctors in white coats, all of them moving through those automatic doors like they belonged there, like the doors were designed specifically to welcome them. A black Mercedes pulled into the parking lot. It moved slowly through the lanes, searching for a space, and then stopped directly in front of the entrance. The driver's door opened and a woman stepped out. Tall, elegant, wearing a long wool coat that probably cost more than Maya's entire education. She moved with the kind of confidence that came from never being questioned, never being doubted, never being told she did not belong. The woman walked straight to the entrance. The doors opened for her without hesitation, and she disappeared inside. Maya's phone rang. Aunt Sarah calling. Maya answered before she could change her mind. I just got out of my meeting, her aunt said. Her voice was warm, concerned. How did it go? Maya told her everything. The administrator's suspicion, the accusations of fraud, the security guard, the humiliation in front of the entire waiting room, being escorted out like a criminal. She tried to keep her voice steady, but by the end she was crying, the words coming out in broken fragments. Aunt Sarah was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice had changed. It was calm, controlled, but there was something underneath it that Maya had never heard before. Something cold and furious and absolutely uncompromising. Stay exactly where you are, she said. Do not move. Do not go back inside. I am 15 minutes away. When I get there, you and I are going to walk back into that hospital together, and we are going to fix this. Do you understand? Maya wiped her face with her sleeve. Okay. And Maya, her aunt's voice softened slightly. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. What happened to you was discrimination, plain and simple, and the people who did this are going to answer for it. I promise you that. The call ended. Maya sat on the bench and waited. She watched the hospital entrance, watched people come and go, watched the world continue like nothing had happened. A janitor emptied a trash can near the doors. A couple argued about parking. An ambulance arrived with no sirens, just lights, and paramedics rushed someone inside on a gurney. Life continued, indifferent and relentless. 12 minutes later, the Mercedes returned. But this time it was not alone. Behind it was a silver Audi, and behind that was a black SUV. All 3 vehicles pulled up directly in front of the entrance, ignoring the no parking signs, ignoring the painted curbs, claiming space like they owned it. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped out of the Mercedes. She was 53 years old, a retired cardiovascular surgeon who had spent 30 years performing some of the most complex heart surgeries in the country. She was also the former head of the surgical department at this exact hospital, and she still sat on the hospital board of directors. She had not mentioned that part to Maya because she did not want her niece to feel like she needed special treatment. But special treatment was no longer optional. From the Audi emerged a man in an expensive suit, Gerald Hoffman, the hospital's chief financial officer. From the SUV came 2 more people, Laura Mendez, head of patient services, and Thomas Park, the hospital's legal counsel. Sarah walked directly to the bench where Maya sat. She knelt down so they were at eye level, placed both hands on Maya's shoulders. Are you okay? Maya nodded even though she was not okay, had not been okay for a long time, would probably never be okay again. Good, Sarah stood and extended her hand. Let's go. They walked toward the entrance together. Sarah in front, Maya beside her and the three administrators following close behind. The automatic doors opened. The lobby was just as busy as before, maybe busier. Patricia Russo was still at her desk, currently helping an older couple with their insurance verification. She looked up when the group entered and her face went through a rapid sequence of expressions. Confusion, recognition, and then something close to panic. Dr. Chen. Patricia stood up so fast her chair rolled backward and hit the wall. I did not know you were coming today. This is completely unexpected. Sarah's expression did not change. She walked directly to the desk, and the three administrators fanned out beside her. Maya stayed slightly behind, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. I received a call from my niece approximately 20 minutes ago. Sarah's voice was calm, professional, the voice she used when delivering bad news to patients' families. She informed me that she was denied service, accused of insurance fraud, and physically removed from this building by security. I would like you to explain why that happened. Patricia's face had gone pale. She looked at Maya, then at Sarah, then at the administrators standing beside her. Her mouth opened and closed several times before any sound came out. I did not realize she was your niece. If I had known who she was, I never would have. That is precisely the problem. Sarah's voice remained level, but the words landed like a gavel. You did not know who she was, so you made assumptions based on her appearance. You saw a teenager in worn clothing and decided she must be committing fraud. You humiliated her in front of your colleagues and other patients. You had her forcibly removed from the building. Tell me, Ms. Russo, what specific evidence of fraud did you observe? Patricia looked down at her desk. The insurance card was still sitting there where Maya had left it. She picked it up with shaking hands. The card looked real, but I have seen fake cards before, and given her age and appearance, I thought. You thought what? Sarah took one step closer. You thought a teenager could not possibly have legitimate platinum coverage. You thought someone dressed the way my niece is dressed could not possibly come from a family with resources. I was trying to protect the hospital. Patricia's voice had shrunk to almost nothing. We have policies about verifying insurance for high-cost procedures. Gerald Hoffman, the CFO, stepped forward. He had been reviewing something on his tablet. Ms. Russo, according to our records, the Chen family account has been active with this hospital for 8 years. Premium platinum coverage with a flawless payment history. The account is current and fully funded. At what point in your verification process did you check our internal database? Patricia said nothing. At what point, Gerald repeated, did you attempt to verify the insurance through any legitimate channel before accusing a minor of fraud and having her removed from the premises? Patricia's silence was answer enough. Laura Mendez from Patient Services spoke next. Her voice was softer than the others, but no less serious. Ms. Russo, were you aware that the patient in question, David Chen, is scheduled for a critical cardiac procedure? Were you aware that delays in scheduling could result in life-threatening complications? Patricia looked like she might be sick. I did not ask about the patient. I just saw the card and assumed. You assumed. Sarah's voice cut through the air like a scalpel. You assumed my niece was a criminal. You assumed my nephew's life-saving surgery was a scam. You assumed that people who look a certain way do not deserve the same respect and verification process as everyone else. Thomas Park, the legal counsel, cleared his throat. Dr. Chen, I think we have heard enough to proceed with an internal review. Ms. Russo, you are being placed on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation into this incident. Your access to hospital systems is suspended as of this moment. You will be contacted by HR within 24 hours. Patricia's face crumbled. Please, I have worked here for 12 years. I have a family. I made a mistake, but I never meant. Intent does not erase impact. Sarah's eyes were hard as stone. You hurt my niece. You denied my nephew access to necessary medical care. You violated every principle this hospital claims to stand for. Whether you meant to or not is irrelevant. Security appeared again. Marcus Webb, the same guard who had escorted Maya out earlier, but this time he was not alone. His supervisor, a woman named Jennifer Cross, was with him. Jennifer approached Patricia's desk and spoke quietly but firmly. "Ms. Russo, please collect your personal belongings. You will be escorted from the building." Patricia stood frozen for several seconds. Then she opened her desk drawer with shaking hands and pulled out her purse, her phone, a framed photo of her children. She did not look at Maya, did not apologize, just walked toward the exit with Marcus and Jennifer on either side of her. The waiting room had gone completely silent. Every person who had watched Maya get humiliated was now watching Patricia get removed. The mother with 2 children, the elderly man with the cane, the nurse with the clipboard, all of them witnesses to both scenes. Sarah turned to Maya. She placed one hand on her niece's shoulder and guided her toward the elevators, away from the staring crowd. Gerald, Laura, and Thomas followed at a respectful distance. They rode the elevator to the 4th floor in silence. Sarah's hand never left Maya's shoulder. When the doors opened, they walked down a long corridor with photographs of doctors on the walls, past examination rooms and nursing stations, to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The name on the door said Dr. Evelyn Marshall, Chief of Cardiology. Sarah knocked once and entered without waiting for a response. Inside, a woman in her 60s sat behind a massive desk covered in medical journals and patient files. She looked up and her face broke into a warm smile. "Sarah, I was not expecting you today." Then she saw Maya and the administrators and her smile faded. "What happened?" Sarah explained the situation in under 2 minutes. Clinical, precise, leaving nothing out. When she finished, Dr. Marshall's expression had gone from concern to furious. She picked up her phone and dialed an extension. "This is Dr. Marshall. I need David Chen's surgical file on my desk immediately, and I need an OR scheduled for next Monday morning. First slot. No delays. This is priority 1. She hung up and looked at Maya directly. "I am deeply sorry for what happened to you. That should never have occurred, and I assure you it will be addressed at the highest level. Your brother's surgery will proceed exactly as planned. You have my personal guarantee." Maya nodded. She still did not trust herself to speak. Dr. Marshall stood and walked around her desk. She knelt down in front of Maya the same way Sarah had, meeting her eyes with steady compassion. "You did nothing wrong. Do you hear me? You walked into this hospital as a patient advocate for your brother. You presented legitimate insurance and requested legitimate care. The failure was ours, not yours." Maya's throat felt tight. "Thank you." Dr. Marshall stood and turned to the administrators. "I want a full review of our intake procedures within the week. I want mandatory training for every frontline staff member on implicit bias and patient dignity. And I want a formal apology letter sent to this family, signed by me personally." Gerald nodded and made notes on his tablet. Laura and Thomas did the same. Sarah placed her hand on Maya's shoulder again. "Let's go home. We will come back Monday morning for David's surgery, and this time you will be treated with the respect you deserve." They rode the elevator back down in silence, walked through the lobby where people still watched but no longer whispered, exited through the automatic doors that opened smoothly and without question. Outside, the January air was still freezing, but somehow it felt less hostile than before. Sarah's Mercedes was still parked illegally at the curb, but no one had ticketed it. Power had its privileges. Sarah opened the passenger door for Maya. Before getting in, Maya turned and looked back at the hospital. The building was massive, impersonal, gleaming with glass and steel. Inside were people who had judged her, people who had helped her, people who had stayed silent, all of them part of the same system. She thought about Patricia Russo, walking out with her belongings in a box. She thought about Marcus Webb, who had followed orders but looked like it hurt. She thought about Dr. Marshall, who had offered a genuine apology without making excuses. Justice, Maya was learning, was complicated. It did not fix everything. It did not erase the humiliation or take away the pain, but it was something, a small correction in a world that rarely corrected itself. She got into the car. Sarah started the engine and pulled out of the parking lot slowly, carefully, like she was carrying something fragile. They drove in silence for several minutes. Then Sarah spoke. "I should have told you I was on the hospital board. I should have prepared you better. I thought letting you handle it independently would build your confidence, but I put you in a vulnerable position. I am sorry." Maya shook her head. "You could not have known what would happen." "No, but I know how the world works." Sarah's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I know what people assume when they see a young woman of color in second-hand clothes. I have lived it myself. I should have protected you from that." "You did protect me." Maya's voice was quiet but certain. "You came when I called, you fixed it. That matters." Sarah glanced at her niece. The girl who had survived losing both parents at 13. The girl who had stepped into a parental role for her younger brother without hesitation. The girl who had endured poverty, grief, and now public humiliation, and somehow was still sitting here with her head up and her voice steady. "You are going to be a remarkable adult," Sarah said softly. Maya looked out the window at the city passing by. She thought about Monday, when she would walk back into that hospital with David. She thought about the surgery that would save his life. She thought about the future that was still possible despite everything. She did not feel remarkable. She felt tired and hurt and angry, but maybe that was allowed. Maybe you could be all those things and still keep moving forward. They drove home through afternoon traffic. The radio played something instrumental and forgettable. Sarah's phone buzzed with messages she ignored. Maya held the folder in her lap, the one containing the insurance card and the medical records and her aunt's letter about strength. The letter was right about one thing. She had survived. Not gracefully, not without damage, but she had survived. And Monday, when David came out of surgery with a repaired heart and a real future, that survival would mean something. Not victory exactly, not vindication. Just the quiet knowledge that some battles end without triumph, and you keep living anyway.